It's 5 o'clock, by the way. Toastmasters. A month ago, my wife and I had to go to Bumbuga, a place near my hometown, for a ceremony. We started by 11:30 from our home and reached there by 12:15. And everyone except us got down from the bus and we were made to sit inside. We prepared to get down, and when we were about to get down, my grandfather yelled, "No, stop! It's not 12:30 yet." I asked, "What is it with the 12:30? He told, "The good time starts from 12:30. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I was thinking why my grandfather and many around me were bothered about the time. And this is not the first time I was having this thought. It's a question pondering over my mind for many years. So I was just wondering, what is time? Is it an entity which always exists? If it always exists, since when it exists? I didn't get any answer. Is it an illusion? Maybe time is an illusion. We are just a part of that illusion, traveling over. That doesn't make any sense to me. Then, is it a dimension? As physicist says, time is the fourth dimension. Again, it makes sense, but sometimes not. Or is it a process where events occur? For each question, the complexity of the answers, what I get in my mind, gets increased. So with a lot of difficulties in my mind, I went to askanythingtome.com, which means Google it. So I got this. Time is the indefinite continued progression of existence and events that occur in apparently irreversible succession from the past to the present to the future. Other day I'm confused. I went to Google and Google says this. Then I was like, do you want this? Really? Okay. Then I prepared to do a serious research about time. So what exactly is time? Then I got many plausible answers. What we follow right now, what the timer follows right now, is something called an atomic time, which was calculated from the decay of the electrons from the cesium atom. That is universally followed as standard unit of time. Then there is something called a solar and sidereal time, which means a time calculated from a sunrise to sunrise. And there is a sidereal time, which is a calculation from a star rise to star rise. Okay. Again, there is something called ephemeris time, which is a time calculated when Earth revolves around the sun for once. It is not a daily time, it is a yearly time. I got these many times. Then I came to a mere conclusion. Time is not absolute. There is no such standard thing which we can call it as time. It is relative, always relative. We tell time, relating it with something else. Whatever the time we tell right now is in relation with the rotation of Earth. That's what we call it as time. So it is not relative at all. And I found out some lead concepts about time. There is something called a time dilation, which means time can run faster or slower. It depends. When Einstein was asked to explain relativity, he gave this answer. You sit near a beautiful woman, chat with her, an hour seems to be a minute. You sit in a hot stove, a minute seems to be an hour. That's how he explained relativity. And that exactly is same for time. As you see, astronauts who are encircling the Earth will be aging lesser than those who are in Earth, which means time plays a major role here. So maybe one day, a father and son can have the same age when one person is going to the outer space. Another big concept I have found out is the time travel, which means you can move ahead or go to a past time if possible. I know what married people are thinking right now. If possible, you will have the time travel. So having all these in my mind, it kept me boggling again. What is time again? So if these are the facts I have found out, I have discovered, let's say, then I got a tingling question, again, pondering my mind. Well, we are very much concerned about our time of birth. Because from our time of birth, we are calculating everything. Our good times, our bad times, whether this person will become Abdul Kalam or this person will be useless in his life. We worry because of our time of birth. Again, if you see, the time of birth is again relative. Do you calculate your time when the baby is born, or when the fetus is formed, or when the doctor knows his time? Nobody knows. There is no perfection in noting the time. And it is inexact as well as dynamic. It keeps changing. So this kept me boggling. And is there a good time and bad time? As my grandpa used to tell that day. Your good time starts when you get down by 12:30. The only good time you have in your life is when you feel good. Whatever it is, it's up to you. And the bad time you have is when you feel bad. So again, it is a relative concept whether you have a good time or a bad time. And we will be obsessed with this whether time predicts my life, whether time predicts your life. If you ask me, the answer is yes. The only time when time predicts your life is when you are running late to your office. I don't find anything else where time predicts my life. So having all this concept into my mind, I came to a conclusion. What is the time? So after the conclusion, if somebody asked me what is the time, I used to say this. Seriously, man, I don't know. Thank you. And I will Toastmaster of the day. Now I can take questions based on the time. So this ACB, what I have planned is to have a session on time. Let's come to a general, a common concept of what is the time. So if you have any queries, now I can open the stage for you to ask the questions.
I guess Toastmaster Punhari will have more questions.
Yes, Punhari.
By how they are calculating each and every moment without even using any seconds or many.
You mean to ask how time is calculated?
Yeah.
Which means you are asking about the
Atomic time.
atomic time. That's the what to say. Atomic time is something because we didn't have any kind of a standard unit to measure time. In the previous days, there was no standard unit. So earlier, what they used to do, they used to find out an atom. Used to find out any element which have a longer decay period. From that, we can have a standard time. So as we know, the standard unit of time is second. The second is actually derived from the decay period of a cesium atom. Cesium is a highly reactive and stable atom, and the decay period is much more than the other atoms. So from there, a standard unit of time is calculated. From there, we use that atomic time. So again, it's a relative term. If you take rubium atom or if you take any other atom, it may differ. So again, it's a relative term. Just for our standard understanding, we made it as standard time.
Because why? Because we'll actually have other clocks. The one clock that we have at home, if the battery drains out, probably the time it takes to reach from 12 to 1 will be a little longer because it slows down. So that is not the standard time. The cesium clock that he is talking about is that's the standard clock, atomic clock they call it. So it never delays or it never goes fast. So whatever clock in the world fails, this clock will never fail. So you can always tune other clocks based on this one.
I have one doubt. Usually we used to set alarm at 5 o'clock. I sleep. Maybe 5 minutes before or after we get, not after, before 5 minutes or 10 minutes before we get to wake up. So is there a clock which is running inside us which wakes up?
Yes, that if you ask the physician, they'll call it as a bio clock.
Bio clock.
Yes. So we, in our mind, unknowingly will have certain agendas. For example, early morning when you just wake up, the first thing what you do is go to the bathroom, take your brush and brush your teeth. There is no alarm there or a reminder there to tell you. Your body has already made something, you have something registered in your mind. And again, when you have lunch by 1 o'clock daily, when 1 o'clock comes, automatically you will get the starving feeling. So this is what the biologists call as the bio clock. So it is something as we do regularly and it gets registered in our mind so that involuntarily it happens every day.
I see that in the class also. When we start the lecture, there will be 1 or 2 students, they fall asleep immediately. And just before we finish it, they'll wake up, it's, when the lecture is going to over.
Maybe that's a perfect example for a bio clock.
So if you have a time machine, where will you go and correct? Not your marriage, of course. What is the other thing you will correct?
Now I'll be more interested in going to the future rather than the past, because past already has gone. So I'd rather go to the future and know what it is.
Thank you.
If that's all, I can just wind up. Thank you very much.